Hey everyone, I'm Keith Miller, and I want to talk about how to improve your relationship without talking about it. Isn't that the best title? I love that title. And in fact, I can't take credit for it. I have to give credit to Dr. Stephen Stosny and Dr. Patricia Love. Those are two people I've been students of for many years, well-known authors. And they wrote a book with that title, How to Improve, I think Your Marriage is the book title, How to Improve Your Marriage Without Talking About It. Fantastic concept. And I'll just give you the spoiler here, but I think you should go out and get the book if you want to learn more about it. I think it's helpful for any couple to have. It sort of gives you x-ray vision because sometimes you can't work it out by talking. Talking's the problem. And so you need another gear to shift into, right? In order to connect with one another. And then maybe the talking will come back online once you can connect. And that's the whole idea about this. And in that book, you get this overview of this concept that, the behaviors that lead to disconnection, criticism and avoidance, so attacking and withdrawing, those behaviors in itself, they're not the problem, in fact. And so if you just keep reacting to your partner's reaction, they're just going to react to your reaction. Then you're reacting to their reaction of your reaction. It just becomes this escalating kind of show, right? And it's not fun. So the alternative here is to have some imagination and wonder what's behind that reaction. If she's criticizing you, if he's avoiding you. Now the authors go into this sort of, and they admit stereotypical sort of view of gender. And so it's somewhat outdated, but at the same time, there is benefit just from a scientific, psychological point of view to say that there are differences between men and women, socially and physically. There are physical differences that, if we paper over that for different reasons, which might be important to do, we sometimes miss out on actual real, patterns that you can educate yourself about. So take it with a grain of salt. This is pre gender fluidity language and that sort of thing. So, and I think this applies to same-sex couples quite easily. You can usually find one partner falling into the category that I may speak about here as a male category or a female category. Generally speaking, and now this is a generalization, but if you take a large group of men and you ask them, you interview them, maybe you're in counseling and you get to actually ask them what are the things that are driving some of their symptoms, their mental health symptoms. For example, if somebody's really depressed, they're suicidal, and you begin to ask them and interview them, what is your biggest fear? What's driving this huge reaction, this extreme reaction that you want to end it all? And generally speaking, men will say it's their shame, and that there's a sense that what they do is not valuable, who they are is not of value to others. Now, it's not to say that women don't also fear shame or being cut out because they're not worth something to other people. Of course, women feel that. But generally speaking, the way men tend to be socialized, and the book goes into greater detail about the male physiological system, or even any person with high testosterone, high T, they're going to typically be very guarded about having emotional reactions. And they get a lot of criticism by their partners. Oftentimes, it's females criticizing the guy who's very withdrawn. And in fact, I wrote a book called 10 Myths About the Emotionally Unavailable Man. You can find out more about that on Amazon. But in fact, men will often be shut down emotionally because if they get angry, it's harder for them to deal with their emotions. It doesn't give them a pass, but that just gives you some x-ray vision. So men tend to be more afraid of feeling shame. And if you know that, rather than criticizing them for shutting down, you can actually move closer to them. You can use your heart and realize that there's something hurting, something they're afraid of that deserves compassion and tenderness. You can drop your criticism and immediately start speaking about that. So women, it's a little bit of a different story. Again, same generalization. I have to put the caveat out there, but generally, if you take a large group of women, sample them, and ask them about what their biggest fears are in life, the worst fears, it would be slightly different than guys. For women, it might be fear of abandonment, fear that I'm not lovable. Nobody wants me. Now, again, will you find guys that have the same fear and have extreme reactions to that emotionally? Yes. But generally speaking, so if you're with a woman who's maybe criticizing you, attacking you, you can begin to kind of put aside your reaction to that and keep in mind, and test this out, by the way. It's not like you have to just cut this in stone, but test out this theory and try other theories. The idea is to get yourself out of that reaction phase and get into curiosity mode so you can start testing things out. Like, what's behind this? Why are you so critical of me? Why are you withdrawing so much? And not asking that from a sort of gotcha, like, you're bad because you're doing this. Like it's okay that you're doing this. Maybe can we talk about what would make you feel like you have to do this? And so you might hear her tell you about that fear. You can begin to even address it directly by telling her that you're never going to leave her. Even if you feel like you need space and you've got to turn away from her to take care of yourself, you can say, especially you need to say, I'll be right back because you're the most important person in my life. I don't know what I would do without you. I've got to go play golf. Right? It may be not that simple, but especially if you're in that avoider withdrawer pattern and you're the avoider, you've got to become a lot better at coming out and saying, listen, I'm not avoiding you. And if that's not true, you've got to start to deal with why you are avoiding that person. So get curious about what your partner is protecting. Get curious about what you're protecting. And I guarantee you that deserves compassion, tenderness, and all of your attention. Other thing I guarantee you is that you can find all of this material that I'm explaining here in this mini course in my main course, which is called Mindful Marriage. It's a mindfulness-based stress reduction course that also teaches basic IFS skills. It's internal family systems. It's basically working with and understanding your inner life, which a lot of us don't pay a lot of attention to or even realize we have to pay attention to it. And you get to work with different parts of you to become better at showing up, realizing who you actually are in the relationship, who are you in conflict, and de-escalating. It's a crash course on how to de-escalate any polarity, any kind of gridlock with someone else. So it's called Mindful Marriage. It's 7 weeks and it walks you through. It's a huge curriculum. I wrote a workbook you'll get access to online immediately when you purchase it. And then I walk people through that course over the course of 7 weeks, meeting with the class once a week for 2 hours. I give a live webinar. Go to souloflifeshow.com/mindful marriage to check out all the details there. My name's Keith Miller, and I hope this is helpful. Let me know how this is going.